A story popped up on my feed yesterday about an interview that Jake Tapper was doing to Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller is a name that I was unaware of until yesterday, but he seems to be the typical lapdog of Donald Trump. Now, this story popped up because Jake Tapper cut off Stephen Miller and his basic rhetoric, saying that I've wasted enough of my viewers' time. So with that popping up, obviously I had to have a look at it. Now, if you follow me on Twitter, I tweeted the link for that video. I'll leave a link down below as well in case you do want to watch it yourself. But I watched it and I can't help but think how calm Jake Tapper was. I certainly wouldn't have been able to hold my stuff together as well as he did. But the basic meat of this was Stephen Miller came out and he was defending and lying because everyone who talks positively about Trump is lying in some way. So I want to go through a few things that I took issue with. In no major order, one of the first few things that keeps popping up, and it's a common lie that I keep hearing from the Trump team, is that Trump is a savvy businessman. He's a self-made millionaire. No, he's not. Not even close to it. Donald Trump, and I'm pretty sure I've said this before, Donald Trump has money because his father was fairly intelligent, because his father was pretty damn good at business. Trump has had multiple loans from his dad, equating to surpassing each time of $1 million. He has been bailed out by his dad, or had been bailed out by his dad, multiple times. In fact, I'm pretty sure each of his 6 bankruptcies, he was bailed out by his dad. It got to the point he was so bad that the Bank of America wouldn't give Donald Trump a loan because they knew damn well he was a muppet. And when Fred Trump passed away, he left Donald $200 million. Donald Trump is not a self-made millionaire. He's not a savvy businessman. He's not smart with money. He's not good at finances. He doesn't know loopholes. He's just had the fortune of being around some fairly decent monetary advisors. Monetary advisors which have said he doesn't ask questions because he doesn't care to know. There was a pretty damn good interview. I'm pretty sure it was before Donald Trump won the presidency, while he was still president-elect, where, I think it was CNN, were interviewing his accountant. Now, this guy was also the accountant to Fred Trump, Donald Trump's father. And he came out saying, not to slag off Donald Trump, not to insult him in any way, but simply saying that, no, Donald Trump doesn't really ask questions. He comes in and he says, make my taxes smaller, make me pay less. And that's it. That's all he's really interested in. His wife asked a couple of questions, but Donald Trump generally isn't interested in. The interviewer in that interview said, what about Fred Trump? And at the drop of a hat, the accountant went, oh yeah, Fred Trump was really smart. I think that goes to tell a hell of a lot. Secondly, it came on to say that Donald Trump's really smart. And if you follow his Twitter, if you follow Donald Trump's Twitter, you can tell when it's Trump writing compared to someone else. No one who's actually fairly intelligent, reasonably intelligent, super intelligent, would ever refer to themselves as like a really smart guy. Now, saying it is very different from actually writing it, because saying it, we have colloquialism, we have different types of words that are colloquially acceptable in one frame of conversation that aren't in another. For example, literally. It's a bit of a pet peeve for me, but there are tons of people who use the word literally when what they really mean is figuratively. Now again, it's not shunned, it's not spat at, it only really affects people like me who have that little nagging thing to it, but it's acceptable. So using like excessively is acceptable because it's the colloquial language. It's what we grow up with. It's using the word theory when really what we mean is idea or hypothesis instead of what theory actually means. It's like using literally in the wrong context, but everyone knows, everyone understands, and it's perfectly acceptable. But when you're writing it down, like Trump did, you really have to question where his mind's at. Now, this does also tie into something else that Stephen Miller said. And that's like 20 minutes before Trump would touch down in an area, he'd read a whole ton of documents, and he'd be able to write something that was amazing, would resonate with the people. I'm calling BS on that as well. In the Obama days, average document, the average report on any specific subject would be 100 pages. So that's 100 pages explaining the political climate of North Korea. And that would be an incredibly short document compared to the information that's actually needed to be read up on. And it wasn't just 100 pages on something and then that was it for the rest of the term. It was 100 pages on one specific topic each day, each and every day. It's well established from people inside the White House that Trump couldn't read 100 pages. So it had to be shortened, monumentally shortened to four pages. And again, 4 pages was too much for Donald Trump. So that got shortened down again to 1 page, which again was too much for the moron to focus on. So it had to be shortened down to having pictures and graphs on this 1 page. Even that was too much. So now it is tweet-sized bits of information that has Donald Trump's name all over it so that the Muppet can pay attention. Now, there are many different ways that different people learn. It's just one of those things. Some people learn better if they read documents. Some people learn better if they listen to documents. Some people learn better if they can actually see someone talking. It's just how the brain works. So if, for example, you take information in better, listening to it, and you are the President of the United States, you have the ability to have someone just read it to you while you're doing something. You have the ability to have a trusted aide to read these documents to you while you're on a flight, while you're in a meeting, while you're doing this, that, and the other. But Donald Trump doesn't want to learn. At no point during his entire life has he ever wanted to learn. He doesn't take in new information. He doesn't take advice, which is why he lost money on a bloody casino. He went bankrupt owning a casino because he didn't listen to anyone. But it goes to show his entire attitude and the mentality he's had his whole life. He is a failure. He is a loser. And he doesn't learn anything, which propagates this streak of unending failure. But that's not what the main purpose of the Tapper Miller interview was. The main purpose was to discredit Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon was a very high up political advisor who, before he became campaign manager, Donald Trump would often call, would often speak to, and during the campaign and during the presidency, Trump often called Steve Bannon for advice on seemingly everything. Yet the Trump campaign is trying to push this notion that Steve Bannon was just some random guy walking around, didn't really have anything to do, didn't really see the president, there was no real interaction. Steve Bannon is the reason why Donald Trump is president. Now, yes, there's a massive reason with the DNC. Hillary Clinton was an absolute failure, and they should have backed Bernie Sanders, but Bernie Sanders would have actually done good for the American public, so they weren't interested. But taking that away, Trump's campaign did as well as it did and got him to the place that it is because of Stephen Bannon. So trying to separate themselves from Bannon isn't just dishonest, it's monumentally stupid. Now, we expect that from Donald Trump because he has proven himself to be a pathological liar. His friends, Donald Trump's actual friends, have come out and said that, yeah, they like him, just don't believe anything he says. Because even they know he's a pathological liar. And yet, we're meant to believe from lapdogs like Miller that Stephen Bannon had nothing to do with the Trump presidency whatsoever, and he's just some pissy little ingrate who's got hurt because he was fired a while ago. The comments in Michael Wolff's book, the interviews were done before Stephen Bannon was fired.